I approached the music worked in the film almost the way memory works. It would like come and go and it would swell unexpectedly. But I use the music very sparingly in the film because the real antagonist of the film is silence. And so I wanted to only bring music in when it feels emotionally right. And so in the film is about two musicians who travel to a island off season and um, you know Lola, after having experienced a traumatic event, stopped playing music. So I felt it would be right for us not to have any music in Greece in the present day timeline. So the film takes place in two timelines: present day Greece and 2 years prior in London. And so in London, 2 years prior, it's full of music they compose, music they listen to, music that's just playing in the background. It's wall to wall music in every single scene. There is not one, like, there's barely any quiet second. And then present day Greece, I wanted to avoid having score. So what we did was we composed non-musical score. We recorded over 1,000 sounds on the island where we shot, and then together with my composer Midori Hirano and my sound designer Javier Ampieres from Mexico, we created non-musical score for those scenes. It's music that it's basically it's a symphony that uses all the same rules of music, escalation, repetition, climax, but it doesn't have any musical instruments. It uses natural sounds. Um, yeah, that was the approach. Yes, and I wish more people see the film in theaters in 5.1 surround sound because different sound elements come from different sides of the room. And if you watch it like on a small screen, you won't get that experience. So we tried to make this film very immersive. I wanted it to get under your skin. I wanted it to like seep into your pores. And I think sound and music play a huge role in that. I thought, that the sea is a perfect visual metaphor for Lola because it might seem calm on the surface. Underneath, there are powerful currents, moving in every direction. And when you look at a person, you might not know they feel calm and they feel composed and collected. You might not know that inside, under the surface, deep down, they're being torn apart. And so the very first one of the first images I had of the film before I even read the script was a woman sitting on the bottom of the sea. She can't get up, she can't leave, and she screams, but the scream is kind of muffled by the water, and then she has no air left. And this feeling of suffocating by something that you want to express but you can't, that was like one of the first images I had of the story, and it's in the film as well. And that's how that all visual metaphor of the sea started. Yeah, we don't, without giving away what the film is about, unfortunately, we have to talk around it, but it's a scene of a traumatic event, portrayal of a traumatic event. And first and foremost, it started with a lot of conversations with the cast and boundaries and what makes them comfortable and uncomfortable. And secondly, I didn't set out to sens sensationalize, sorry, sensationalize it. I didn't try to shock the audience. The idea was to allow the audience to sit in a space and ask themselves a question that might make some people uncomfortable. And the question is, what if what you thought was love and care was actually unhealthy? And like, what if what you think you remember is violence? What if your memories are skewed? Um, Yeah, I think, yeah, without giving away too much, I wanted to make the scene very simple. To be honest with you, it's just one shot. And the way we shot it, we just set the camera static and we didn't color correct it and we didn't sound design it and we mixed it in mono. So if you know, in film, you mix sound in stereo where different sounds come from different speakers in the room. But this one, I wanted it to make it so simple and straightforward. The sound comes from the central speaker only, like Wade did back in the day, you know? As I think, I wanted to set us on a journey with Lola where it's something that Lola didn't accept, it's something she didn't process, and that's something she didn't even understand happened to her. So together with her, we are like getting different hints, and as you said, we get to see it when she gets to remember it, you know? That's so funny. I've now done a few interviews where you guys pick up on the colors, and when I start talking about that, I turn into such a nerd. I just did a podcast and I listened to it last night, and I was like, "Oh my God, I sound so nerdy. I need to stop talking like that." But I do nerd out on this because I'm a painter, and so like I love colors, I love textures. So yeah, I wanted to mirror the process of memory. When you remember the past, it's usually warmer, fuzzier, things feel more beautiful than they were. And so I kind of wanted to portray that, and I wanted to use really deep co secondary colors like purples and oranges and browns and um we shot all of the past is shot at night, so there's a lot of like lamps and this warm lights. And then in the present day Greece, the colors become more clear, they become more simple. They, like everything is not a it's not as painterly. And I think that's what Lola's character goes through from nostalgia to clarity. And like I wanted to show what that clarity might look like on the color palette. That means you're very sensitive. Yes, each color has its own frequency, right? Just like music, just sound. And so we were working with these frequencies and we color coded certain emotions to different colors. So if you have a really good projection, again, that's why people should watch it in theaters. If you see it on a really good projection, you should get a lot out of it. And, like there, we had a specific hue of purple for love. So anytime there was love seen, there was a lot of this like purplish, let's call it purplish color, plum, the matter. And certain emotions were coated with different shade, specific shades. And like our production designer, Olga Yurasova, she's a Ukrainian displaced filmmaker who's working in Europe now, displaced by war. She is also like really hypersensitive to color. She's a painter as well. And we geeked out on it. We like tried different color walls. We would like tr- we tried, I think, 7 different color walls for this one room because it was important to us. And it looked like same color, I swear to, but just to us, we see a major difference. But I had a assistant director come up to me and ask me like, those colors are almost the same. It's the same color. We're like, no, they're so different. They cannot be more. And we worked with like Emma's layered skin tone. So we wanted colors that work with her skin tone in Greece and certain emotions to certain shades. And if you watch the film in a good enough projection, you should get a lot out of it emotionally. Yes, for sure, because my storyboards were all very limited color palettes and very specific color palettes, and my production designer really like, she knew the world, the visual world we're working in, and it was very limited and very strict because we're both from Eastern Europe and we were very, very strict with our palettes. You know, um, Emma's having an incredible year. Besides 28 years later, she also did this BBC show Mint, which is going to premiere that premiered at Berlin Film Festival to amazing reviews. And then she's shooting something now um, with Anthony Hopkins and Helena Bonham Carter in Cornwall. And then she has a couple of projects that are due to release this year. Cary Fukunaga's film, I think. Anyway, my point is she's like this is her breakout year, and so Satisfaction was her first leading role, and when I met her, and up until then, she hasn't done a lead role before. So, um, I got lucky. I think working with her was incredible because she brought such an emotional intelligence to the role. Um, the power of the film is not in the dialogue that is being spoken, but in the silence and in between the lines. And she really understood that on a deep emotional level. And she brought a lot of like emotional maturity and emotional intelligence to those scenes where what's more important is not when Lola speaks, but when she is reflecting and when she starts seeing the truth, right? So yeah, she's an incredible young actress. She is definitely, we're gonna hear her name. I think she's gonna be a household name. Yes, I mean, I didn't choose to take this long. It's a difficult story. First time female director. Um, you know, it's a challenging topic. It's a challenging genre. It's a psychological drama. Y- y- Nowadays, people are trying to make a lot of horror and a lot of like comedies. They're more with the state of the industry right now, people are more hesitant to touch drama, especially female led. And so it took a while to make, but in that time, the process was just a lot of listening to the story, listening to the protagonist, and listening to my own doubts because, it's a personal story. So, in a way, the fact that it took 10 years to make mirrors the healing process. That's how long they say it takes. And so it really did mirror it for me in a major way. And, by the time I reached catharsis was like right after we picture locked. So um, when I reached kind of just like my own acceptance of my story. And I think, you know, um, the power is taking authorship of your past, right? As a person. And I think this story's timeline mirrored that it takes a long time. Yes, I'd love for people to catch it in theaters, to be honest with you. Just because of what we talked about, how immersive it is uh, when it comes to sound design and the imagery. But we're screening at BFI Flare, March 22nd at 8:50 p.m. That screening is almost sold out. But then we have another screening the following day, March 23rd at 3 p.m. And then that evening, we're screening in Manchester, and I'm gonna be at all three of them. Well, thank you. I hope we're trying. It's a film that was independently made without like a big uh, production company backing it. So it's very grassroots. So it's about audiences finding the film. So I hope the audiences, if you like the film, you share about it, you spread the word, and it's the only way for it to travel.